Yo, what's going on, family? Got this brisket here today I'm gonna do for you. I know a lot of my friends been asking for me to do a brisket, so here we go. Oh, that's a 20-pounder right here. It's nice and thick like how I like it. That's how I like them, about 20 pounders. Smoke this thing for about 12 to 14 hours. We're gonna get this thing out the package, get it cleaned up, and we're gonna trim it up and get it ready for the grill. Trim this season, get it ready for the grill. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Alright, so thanks for coming back with us. First, foremost, you need to get yourself a sharp knife. Got my old trusty Walmart knife here, nothing special. Now you want to cut all this fat, all this off of here, all this dead looking meat on this side. I'll turn it around when I cut it. I'll turn it around now and show you. I'm gonna get all this off of here too, because this ain't gonna cook correctly. All this bad meat, all that bad meat right there, all that right there, all that got to go. She's a big one. It's a big girl right here. I'm gonna get you something to put this fat on anyway. Go. I don't do too much talking while I'm cutting this thing. But you want to get that meat showing. That's what the object is, to cook this meat. Now, I don't know if you guys will get these between 16. You can get some 12, 10 pounders. You can get them to trim it, but I like to trim my own. I like to have no excuses. Of why it didn't come out correctly. Knife is pretty good. It's the object is to have a great knife. You got a great knife, to make your life hard. Don't be scared to cut this thing. A lot of this thing is fat. It's a lot of fat on these things. Definitely at the bottom. You'll see when I flip it over how much fat is on these things. Basically, I'm gonna smoke this thing. I'm gonna check it and see how it looks around about the halfway mark. I'm gonna smoke it on that trusty Austin XL. Get a lot of that off. Turn this thing around. Get this off of there. It's all fat. And again, do not be scared to trim this thing up. It's a lot of meat here. That's a whole lot of fat as well. See right around here, this is the flat. This is the flat. This is gonna be the meat you really wanna eat. All right, so you wanna keep this thing. Keep the meat on there. You want to get that all that fat out of here. Fat takes so long to cook. It actually kind of stunt your cook. If you're missing valuable time in this meat cooking correctly. Yeah, like I said, about halfway through this thing, I'm gonna cut this flat. And the point, you can make you some good barbecue burnt ends, which would be good. Things would be super nice and tender. You're doing right. Believe me, this ain't nothing I learned overnight. Took some time to learn this. I definitely messed up 2 or 3. And once you mess up 2 or 3 of these things at $50 and better, you will learn some expensive lessons. Get much of this fat out as you can. You have that fat at the bottom. You gotta protect it when you're cooking it. And hold them juices in there so you get more flavor out of this thing. I'm gonna use some hickory pellets. It's gonna give us that good flavor. She looking nice so far. I like how she coming along. Cutting this up out of there. Tell you, like I said, do not be scared. They hold a lot of fat. And some of this meat, and that dead meat, don't be scared to get rid of it. You do this thing right, I'm telling you, be the talk of your family reunions or whatever you do. Actually never even had heard of a brisket till I met my wife. Her grandfather cooked one of these things, and at the time I was on my so-called I don't eat pork tip, and he told me, he said, I got 2 briskets out there on the grill. They made of beef. I'm like, what's a brisket? Yeah, they made of beef. Went out there, cut a piece, and mess around and told some people on my way out there, and the next thing I know, I had a flock behind me. I still ain't understand why. Till I cut into it, gave everybody a piece, and believe you, I cut it wrong. He had smoked that thing all night. And when I ate a piece, I was in love ever since. And I ain't stopped since. Rest in peace, Pete Bell. And that's what started my brisket days. Actually, I thought this was gonna be a problem, but she cut nicely. Well, this knife is cutting nicely. I kind of trim my bottom up too, because you don't need that much fat to savor that flavor. You can get this from a butcher shop. You want to go to a butcher shop and get you one of these things. Some people just shop in grocery store. This is not what you'll find in a grocery store. You might find one trimmed up already, or a small one. Might catch a small one in there. But you want to go to a butcher shop to get you a nice grade A. And all this trimming is going to be good for when you get that season on there and it start getting that smoke on there and it turn and get that nice bark. Like I said before, I don't be doing no temperature checks. I've been did enough of these things so where I can eye them. I ain't got to put no temperature gauge in there. Check my meat. I can tell by the outside of them. Once I get my process going, from there I don't do nothing no different. I just keep that process. Once I got the process that I liked it down, I just kept going with it. A little more fat over there. I need to get up out of there. These little small fat pieces up, they just gonna hinder your process. Process in progress. You just follow the 5 P's in all your endeavors, you won't lose. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Believe you me, you want to cut some fat off this thing. You don't think you're doing nothing wrong. And she is a biggie. Big, beautiful girl right here. Trim some of that down too. You can cut up in this thing much as you want. This is nothing like no roast. This is a brisket. There's so many parts to this thing too. I'm just sitting here daydreaming about how she gonna be when I get done. Get done with her about 14 hours from now. You can take your slide cuts, cut you a couple slices across there. That seasoning going up in there, and that smoke will get up in there too. So that thump when you flip her over, that's how you know this is a big, thick, juicy joint. Again, shout out to the people that do this for a living. This is definitely no joke. They trim and cut plenty of these things right there. But there's no wrong way when it's your way. flat. All that right up in there with it. All that. I'm gonna take this whole part off. And this will be my point. You'll see when I cut that up, and you can see all them barbecue burnt ends I pulled up out of there. Shot at me right there, right quick. I'm gonna wrap this in some aluminum foil too, and get to my store today early enough to get me some butcher paper. I actually forgot to get some butcher paper because you can wrap this in butcher paper too, which is it's a little bit better to me, but it don't matter. Butcher paper, aluminum foil. It's all just to help it get that tenderness. I think that'll do it right about now for me. Get a couple more of these little small pieces. Small little fat I don't like. Believe me, the better your trim is, the better it's gonna be when you get done and you start to cut this thing up. If you don't trim it correctly, you're gonna have a whole fight when you get done. Yeah, so I like it. I think I'm at ease pace with the way this is trimmed up. So we're gonna get our season out. We're gonna season this thing up, and then we're gonna get on the grill. All right, so I'm back. That's how much fat I pulled up off this thing. A little bit of meat, but that's mainly all fat. So don't be scared to trim this thing up. And we're gonna get this thing seasoned up. We're back at you with this Monty's Better Than Yours barbecue seasoning. I ain't gonna put no rub on here, just this barbecue seasoning. A lot of people use salt and pepper, but I like my barbecue seasoning. Comes out much better and give me a better bark that I like. Monty's better than yours, and you already know why, because it's better than yours. You want to get this thing nice and coated. Get this thing coated real good. Can't go wrong with my seasoning. Shout out to my cousin Willie Bryant Jr. This one definitely got your name on it. Make sure you get all up under there, get up in there, it's gonna need it. Don't be scared to put no seasoning on this thing either. Please don't be scared to season it up. It ain't gonna hurt it. Only gonna help her. Don't get me wrong, there is some salt and pepper in here. But not just salt and pepper. A little bit. I already smell it. Massage it up real good, get it up in there. I'm gonna get this grill preheated. About 200. You know my favorite temperature is 200 in the beginning. Get that thing smoking. We're gonna place this in fat side up, fat side down. My bad. Put this in fat side down. Alright, so I'll be right back. Alright, so we got this grill going about where I wanted to be going. Get her on there, and then we'll be back. Got the whole grill to herself. She got the whole grill to herself. So we're gonna come back to this thing around about 6 hours. About 11:40 right now. So I figure we'll be back out here around about 5:40. Get her off, see how she look anyway. I check on her a couple times in between, but see when we get back. Alright guys, about 2 hours into this thing. She's going steady at 200. check her out, see how she's looking. Yeah, she looking real good. Definitely like how that's take that, separate that, flatten that point, get my ends ready. So we'll be right back. Take it to the house and get your car up. Alright, so I'm back. Got my good knife I like to use when I'm cutting a big size piece of meat. Right about how I want her. Got that nice bark on there. She's looking excellent. She's smelling great. Like I said, I don't use no meat probe or nothing, but I keep going by the same system. So we're gonna cut. We're gonna get right up in here where you can almost see where we can separate this flat. Get it right in that groove. Right there in that groove. Just wanna come on down. You know you cutting good because it just keep going right through there. See that juice rolling out of there. Believe you me, ain't doing nothing wrong. Put a little too much on that side, but that's alright. Take and put that right off on your pan and wrap her up. All this is meat. We'll make some burnt ends. We'll make a couple different kind of cuts on these. Alright, so you can separate this right here again. Now your cut pieces, your burnt ends. Look at that. I'm gonna cut these up in chunks. Cut these in any size you want. I cut them down to a nice, maybe like a 1 inch chunks, 1 by 1. Careful, these things are still hot. These things will be full of flavor as well. Full of flavor. Alright, so I got my burnt ends that I want to use. The rest, they had a lot of fat on them. So I put them off to the side, but I still cook them. But now what you want to do is you want to come across these with some Worcestershire sauce or Worcester, however you want to say it. No matter what brand, you want to come across these with that. And I'm telling you one thing about a brisket is, you come through the family function with one of these things manipulated to perfection, you will not soon be forgotten. I tell you that right now. Gonna come back across on some of that Monty's Better Than Yours seasoning. Again, I like to say this is how I like it. What's been working for me, what's been helping me win the hearts, minds, and souls of others around me. So I stick with my system. I'm gonna wrap these up with some food. Right on that grill. Sorry about that. Need to stir these things up. These things are gonna be so juicy and tasty. And again, I let these things go. Let these go just as long as I let that other piece go, that flat go. Necessarily, I don't wrap these in butcher paper. When I do have butcher paper available, I would do these the same way with the aluminum foil. Put them in that tray. Have them sealed up. Good. Now you want to place your flat inside your aluminum foil. Place it this way. You can wrap better. These are the other chunks of meat that would let some people like that. Like my sister likes this. So I'll wrap that up too. Put that back on the grill. With this one, I like to come across this with a little butter. Get it some more flavor, pull the rest of that flavor up out of there. And it'll soften up some of those ends when you start trying to cut it. done. After this thing gets done, I'll pour it off. I'll let it rest for about 2 hours. So it gets done. Make sure this thing is totally covered, nice and tight. Side over here. Believe you me, all this is gonna help you get done cooking this thing. Then we're gonna go fat side down. We'll get this thing back on the grill, get those burnt ends back on the grill. We'll see you in a bit, in a couple hours. Okay, so we done had this thing resting for about 3 hours. We're gonna get it cut up. I'm gonna show you what we came up with. now. She looks excellent, nice and juicy. Get my small cutting board for this one. See what direction we're gonna cut this thing. This little piece of this end right here. See how that end cut? Look at that. Nice and juicy. Gonna put it like butter. Excellent. Nice and sexy. Nice and sexy. Smoke ring looking great. Like I said, just system together. And you follow your system, it'll come out great every time. That fold test. Beautifully. Another piece. Smoke ring, beautiful. Alright, so this concludes our brisket. I finished carving this thing up. Call a couple people over to get their sample. And like I said, do what you do. And check with me next time. Till then. Can't beat the way this brisket look. Put some sauce on this brisket. This thing is looking real nice. It's a finished product. What your finished product looks like. It's supposed to look like barbecue burnt ends with sauce. Burnt ends with no sauce. Lovely. It's a mighty fine brisket. This is my scrap pieces. I call them scrap pieces. Look how they look. They ain't even scrap though. See you next time.